Heads up, if you have kids around.
Parental advisory is in effect.
This is the Bone is Bone podcast with Lamont and Tonelli.
It's like water torture.
Baby Huey.
Chasta.
Welcome back, friends, to the Bone is Bone podcast. Chasta, Tonelli, and Baby Huey. Your woot-woots need some work, brother.
We need to decide on that. If Lamont's not here, who should do the woot-woo?
I mean, I definitely think it's Tonelli.
Either that or we get Lamont on tape doing the woot-woot and you just hit a little sound button.
That's a better idea.
Okay,
I like that.
We need a soundboard.
Yes,
a Lamont soundboard.
Scream it out. So Lamont is just buried right now getting all the stuff done for the anniversary week.
Big week.
It is a big week around here. Happy anniversary, Tonelli.
Thank you very much.
Woo-woo.
Well, it's your anniversary too.
Yeah, it's more your anniversary, Huey, than mine.
Yeah.
Because you've been a part of the show for
18 years.
18 years.
Started.
Wow.
Has it been that long?
18 years.
August.
Seems like 18 minutes.
Finished the saying.
Underwater.
But
18 years, really?
yeah, August 2005.
Seems like dog years.
For him as well. For him more, I'm sure. For those of us, and I say us because I don't even know if I know this full story, how you came to be. I mean, I know you started as an intern with
Yes.
Lamont Tonelli.
Yes.
But, like,
But
how
even
did
before
that,
right? You want to know how he got started as an intern.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't
the
even.
Very
the
beginning.
very beginning.
Right?
How did this
Well, he wasn't
Fire.
even related to the show at first because his internship was with the promotions department.
So, okay. So,
Right?
all right.
Yeah, you're right. No,
Why you
You think
do
I'm
it?
not paying? You think I never pay attention to anything?
See, you always say I've got a bad memory, but that was good. That was good.
Yeah, it was back in 1976, I think. I'm not. Wasn't it?
No, that's my kind of math. You can math better than me. Come on now.
No. So go back.
It's going to be a long podcast.
Get your inhaler out.
Oh, I know.
You giggle too.
Don't make eye contact. He makes you giggle.
No, quick little backstory. So it started 2004. I wanted to work in radio. So
You're in college at this point.
yeah, I was transferring from Laney College to UC Berkeley, and I wanted to get an internship going because I knew I only had 2 more years left of college and wanted to get credit under my name. And I applied to a different radio station, one that I grew up listening to. Unfortunately, I did not get hired. I was so heartbroken.
They suck. Who cares?
Yeah, they sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, screw the guy who did not hire me. I totally remember the name to this day still. Screw you, you suck. So I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get my foot in the door? So I started doing college radio at CalX. That's UC Berkeley's college radio station. Started getting a bunch of experience under my belt. And then the following summer of 2005, updated my resume with all my experience from CalX. So when I applied to be a promotions intern here at the Bone, it showed that I was legit serious. I want to take this as my career. I want to be, doing this for my career. And so when I did the interview, they said, wow, I can see you guys, you're really serious. Last year, you've been doing this, and this over at CalX. I'm like, yeah, I love radio. I want to work here. And the Bone was still just a couple years old. And you guys at this point were only here for a couple years at that point.
Yeah, because what time did you come?
We started in January of 2003.
So that was, about 2.5 years only at this point when you came over from KSJO. So got hired as a promotions intern August 05. And Mondays were my office day. And very basic routine. You go up there, you get the price sheets, all that stuff, all the promo kid work events, all that stuff. The rule of thumb back then was when you get the price sheets, go after 10 a.m. Don't interrupt the morning show. Go in there when Stephen Seaweed was
Don't
in there.
make eye contact with Lamont Tonelli.
But it's just like, don't interrupt them. They're doing their show.
Don't wake them up.
However, I saw this opportunity to get to know them. So I used to go up there.
You rule breaker.
I used to go up there around like 9:45, pop in, and I would always go talk to Sully. Sully had the price sheets, and I would have to
Interpret them.
Interpret.
I was going to say, I can't believe he ever was in charge of those prize sheets. I can't believe anyone ever got their prizes. God rest his soul, but seriously.
Half of Tanzania got prizes.
But so I would go in there, get the price sheets for him. But then that's when I started talking to you guys, just making small talk. Hey, how's it going? And then over time, we would do promo events together. And that's how I started to get to know you guys more. And I remember like the first event we did together, it was in Palo Alto at like a karate place inside the parking lot. They were having like a big grand opening.
A karate place?
Yeah, some karate place in Palo Alto. I have the photos still.
It was like in a strip mall.
Yes. And so
you do remember.
So
wasn't there rock climbing there too or something like that?
That's the photo I have of the four of us and from that rock climbing thingamajig. Okay. So
you were working this as a promo kid.
And that's the first time I got to see the power of Sully.
Yeah.
As far as fans coming up and wanting to meet him.
People are crazy about Sully.
Just mobbing after him. It's just how just important he was and famous he was. I mean, you guys too as well, but it was awesome.
Oh, yeah,
you were second to string. I know, that was really genuine, wasn't it?
But then, we did that. The first time I really got to talk to Paul was at the Niners. Remember when we got the Niners on the Bone, 05, there's a big rally at Justin Herman Plaza. And I
have no idea.
You and I were backstage.
You don't remember that? You remember the rock climbing wall, but you don't remember that.
But the point being is I introduced myself to you there, and I said I would love to help out with you guys. And you always said, yeah, come on by.
Yeah, what's your name?
Oh my God, I almost spit water on
But it was this big event that the Niners were celebrating, going to be on the Bone, all that stuff. It was just like a big rally. Alex Smith was there, all that stuff. But how I got in touch with Lamont, where Lamont asked me to come in. So you guys had your golf tournament at 1 year. What?
Go ahead.
So
don't let him distract you.
So we had the golf tournament, and I really want to work the hole that had the Hooters girl pouring beer. Like, I want to hang out with the Hooters girl and the beer.
Yep.
Instead, I had to work out way out in the middle of the hot sun. I had to be the eyewitness for the hole-in-one hole. It was a par 3. If you got a hole-in-one, you won a Camaro or some car there. And so I had to sit there. I'm sitting in the sun by the side of the freeway. It was terrible for hours and hours, it felt like.
Is that at Sonol Golf Course?
I believe it was at the time, yeah. Finally, my old boss said, all right, you can switch and work this hole. And I knew it was the Hooter girls hole. So I sprinted over there.
There's a sentence.
So I sprinted over there. But the Hooters girls were gone already, and I just had to help clean up. The beer was empty. The kegs were empty. I had to help clean up. And I was like, damn it, this sucks. I was just pissed off.
Intern life.
And then all of a sudden this foursome comes up, and this one guy says, hey, you work at the Bone? I'm like, yeah, I'm new there. And he's like, you work with Lamont and Tonelli? I was like, yeah, I see them. And he's like, is it true they're assholes? I heard they're pricks. Is that true? I said, I don't know. I don't know them that well.
Jury's still out. I don't know.
I'm new, but I know Lamont is more loud, loud personality. Paul's more quiet off the air, but I don't know him that well. But they've always been nice to me. And he kept like just bugging me. He's like, is it true? Are they assholes? I said, no. Like I'm at the point I was like, leave me alone. Like, quit asking me.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm just messing with you. I'm Lamont's brother-in-law.
Oh,
and I was like,
wow.
and I'm just
hilarious.
I was just testing.
I don't think I knew that moment.
So, and then Lamont comes up after
laughing.
And he's like, I heard my brother-in-law was testing.
Man, you could have really stepped in it there. That could have changed the whole course of your life.
Absolutely. That was a big moment right there. But Lamont says, I heard my brother-in-law was testing you. Good to know, or I'm happy to know you don't talk ass behind my back. And then we were talking. I was like, hey, I would love to help out. And I know I'm new here, but love to help out the morning show any way I can. And he said, are you willing to do anything to get on the air? And without even thinking, I'm 21 years old. Yes, absolutely, anything. And we were trying to think of nicknames and stuff. And he said, what? I said, well, we can't call you Danny on the air. That's just your regular name. We'll give you something different. I said, well, in high school, I used to be called Lurch because I was the tallest white guy on the basketball team. He's like, nah, anything else? I said, well, my Aunt Katie used to call me Baby Huey when I was little. Just I reminded her of the old cartoon character, big for my age, bull-legged, walking, always want my milk bottle.
Some things never change.
And then Lamont's like, perfect. I love it. Easy to remember, rolls off the tongue, Baby Huey. And I'm like, all right. And then he asked me once, are you willing to wear like a Cupid diaper and dress up like Cupid? I was like, yeah, sure, no problem, which I did do one day.
Yeah.
I had to go down to the ferry building dressed in a diaper with lotto tickets all over me.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
To do what? What was the...
I had to stand there, call into them, and people had to come off the ferry building. We're picking off free lotto tickets.
Yeah, there was a big lotto draw going on.
Yeah, so they were picking off lotto tickets off my body.
Pick that back up. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do it again.
So, and then from there, I just started doing more stuff with you guys. And then at the time, they needed some extra help behind the scenes with stuff here. And me and a couple other interns were doing that stuff. But I like to think my body of work was better than them because they were gone soon after, but I stuck around. And
that's how it all started.
And Paul, you said, like, I ultimately created a position for myself because it kind of snowballed after there.
So that's all the time we have for this week's podcast.
You asked me.
That was a 10-minute story. We have it on the clock. That's all right. It's your moment.
Other people get to talk 10, 15
Somebody's got to fill those shoes.
Yes, exactly.
So how did it become official that you were really more their producer, part of their show?
By December 05.
Oh, you wanted to extend the story? Okay.
I need to know the bridge that we went over.
Thank you for
asking. You're welcome.
Yes.
Lamont isn't here to tell you to shut up, so I'm going to let this moment go.
So December 05 is when I started helping out with them every week. Started doing Tata Tuesday, all that stuff.
Oh, that's right. You did Tata Tuesday. Like went out on the streets.
Yeah, exactly. And then
the Tata Tuesday stuff was great.
Yes.
I mean, you really kind of made a name for yourself there.
That's where
a lot of the people got familiar with you and things like that.
The call-ins with you guys every week, every Tuesday. Got to meet a lot of the P1.
Brought in good money too for the charity.
Yeah, for the breast cancer fund. A lot of the P1 listeners that came out. So it was just that interaction. I love interacting with the Boneheads every single week. But then it took a couple years. So I was working part-time for a couple years. But it wasn't until like after that where I finally got able to get a full-time deal with the station.
Paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Most importantly.
So it took a couple years, but then from there, full-time. And then, as they say, the rest is history.
The rest is history. Look at that. Oh, he's biting his tongue.
You're lucky you're not history.
Wow.
Damn.
Sorry.
Okay, so Tonell, give us some of your highlights over your career, at least with Lamont.
Oh, God, there's just so many, right?
I'm sure.
It's both on the air, off the air, at events, different things. I mean, is
there anything that comes to mind that we haven't played back on the air or maybe we don't know or talk about as much?
Well, I mean, when you look at absolute highlights, one thing that you never thought would have happened was the promotion we did. And bands don't do this kind of thing anymore. But the Scorpions were in town. They were at the San Jose Arena. And we did a promotion in conjunction with the band.
Yeah.
And I guess the record company they were doing it in different cities.
Yeah.
And we had a contest with listeners to sing on stage with the Scorpions.
Jeez, that's so cool.
I mean, a huge arena show, right?
Yeah.
16,000 people, 17,000 people. And we sang the background on Big City Nights.
Dude.
I think all we said was Big City.
Big
like
City.
that.
But you nailed it.
Well,
And they probably had our microphones turned off. Who knows?
That's okay. Still we're living in the moment. That's a cool moment, though. I mean,
But how many times do bands come into town and want to do something like that?
oh, now these days?
Yeah.
Never. I mean, that's how I ended up on stage with Aerosmith. Same
That's
concept.
right. When Steven Tyler licked your
Licked
cheek.
my face.
even
cheek or face or
We're gonna
was
go
it your
with-
cheek
It
or
was,
your
it was my cheek on my face.
right? But
I just wanna
it
make
could have
that
been your
clear.
forehead.
It could have been
your
my
forehead. Could have been
but
your
no,
nose.
It was my cheek.
Up the side of your cheek.
Up the side
Okay.
of my cheek on my face. Yes,
Yes.
it was. But yeah, no, bands used to do stuff like that. Used to do crazy stuff. They used to be game to really have
the meet
fun.
and greets.
Oh, yeah,
Sammy
that's
would
always
get
a
it,
thing.
and Sammy's been a friend of the show for so long.
Yeah.
and he'd get us on stage, and we'd be drinking tequila with him and stuff like that in between songs, or just stuff like that just doesn't happen anymore.
I do miss those type of events, promotions with bands where you create these like really awesome once in a lifetime experiences.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we just got to find newer bands that are down to do that, or I don't know, like what if we ever can get back to
I
something
think
like
some
that.
of our core artists are just so big and have been around so long. They don't need to do things like
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just like they don't have to.
One of my favorite in-studio moments. We're going to go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I have some questions for you about your history, but go ahead, tell your.
And Danny, you might remember. Were you? And you might have been there too. I can't remember the exact year when in the studio over at the Hawthorne Studios.
Okay.
We did the firecracker stunt in the studio with Sully.
Oh, that was right before my time because that was part of the firecracker
fantastic.
on the roof. But the one you did it. You
You were there for the roof one.
I was
the year before that.
Yeah.
We learned.
We refined the technique and brought it outside. The year before, we actually did that same stunt in the studio.
I can't believe that. I mean, did all the fire alarms and everything go off?
That's on YouTube, that video.
That is
it
on
really?
YouTube?
That's on YouTube,
Oh my God, we got to reshare
Where he's wearing the hip waders?
Yes, it
And we
is.
pour the water inside the hip waders to put the fire out?
Yes, it's all on YouTube.
Oh, we got to reshare
And
that.
the studio filled with smoke?
Just search for Huey Can, Lamont Tonelli, Sully firecrackers or fireworks, however I worded it.
Yeah, we didn't really think that one through. We're like, we'll just do it in the studio. And we thought it would sound great, which it did.
Well, I'm sure it
sounded
did.
fantastic.
I'm sure it sounded huge.
But there was, we're like, I don't think the fire department showed up, did they?
No, they did not. But
They should have.
Yeah.
I think because of the alarm going off, all the doors opened up.
That's right.
Had to open up just to air it out. But Sully walking with the hip waders, and he's walking. He's got these hip waders, and he's got all the debris of the fireworks that went off, all the material left there, and he's got water in his pants. So
He does because we duct taped the
The bottom?
the pant legs of the hip waders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that way, because the firecrackers had to go in. With the stunt was the firecrackers in your pants.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't all fit firecrackers in his pants.
Yeah.
So we had him wear hip waders. Right, and then we duct taped the legs so nothing would fall out the bottom, and then we shoved the firecrackers down inside the hip waders, and then lit the fuse, and they just started going off.
Do not try this at
I
home.
know, right?
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
And then we had pitchers of water on the counter.
We just found like empty vases in the kitchen to fill up with water. Like we were scrambling.
But you did think about safety.
Yeah,
there
but
was a safety measure
we ran to
there.
the kitchen like, okay, what can we put water in?
It was just firecrackers. I mean, what could happen?
If you watch the video on YouTube, it is an empty vase with water.
Oh my
So
God.
then we had to pour the water in the hip waders to put the firecrackers out after they started going off. We're like, holy crap, we didn't expect that. And
What did you think was going to happen?
well, and then what Danny's saying is, Sully is walking through the hallways and water's sloshing around because he's got the duct tape legs, so the water's still in his hip waders, and he's walking slosh.
His pants is a soup of water and firecracker debris.
Oh my God.
With smoke coming out. So he's walking.
That's right. The smoke was still coming out.
And as he's walking, it's like boom, boom, boom. And it's like smoke popping out.
Smoke on the water
Yeah, you can
in a
literally-
different way.
yeah.
I have to watch
And
this.
the fire alarms go off.
I
forget if the fire alarm went off or not.
Because I think we got him outside because we were on the 11th floor at the time. So he's outsid on the balcony.
On the balcony there? Yeah. Oh my God.
Trying to air it out.
And the whole floor with it wasn't like the real thick smoke was in the studio,
Yes.
but it drifted out into the hallways. But
And that's
the
such
thing
a
that
potent smell, too.
well, I was going to say the thing that permeated the entire floor was the sulfur smell.
That sulfur smell
Yeah.
is hard to get rid of.
Yeah. So that was
Whew, that was an adventure.
that was epic.
That sulfur smell is what almost got me arrested the next year.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Because you had a flight after that show.
I went immediately from that show to the airport, and I got stopped by TSA because I smelled like sulfur. It was a big deal. I almost had to go home and check. And my explanation was the most unbelievable thing. Listen, I'm on a show. We attached fireworks to a guy. They literally were like, what saved me is there was a United guy, and I think he still listens, actually.
Okay.
There was a guy who worked at United who claimed he was like, no, I know who this is. I know this show. This is all true. It was a whole thing. It was crazy. And I think that was like my first year working for you guys or something like that.
Yeah, well, Lamont and I always say we should have taken notes for 30 years because, all the little things that you forget, you remember the major ones, but there are day-to-day funny stories that you just laugh at and they're funny and then, they're not as impactful. But still, when you go back and look, if you took notes or something, I always say if you just take 5 minutes a day to write a paragraph on how the show went that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
would've had a book
because that's
written.
all it takes is to spur the memory, right?
Yeah,
so,
Gotcha. Like a journal, a daily journal.
yeah, man, you want to call it a journal? It's kind of wimpy.
I've always been kind of curious for you since 34 years. Like one thing I'm always wondering is just favorite guest. Do you have a favorite guest on the show? I know for us, it's been a lot of comedians, musicians, occasional actor, actress, and whatnot. But do you have a favorite guest of all time? Not to put you on the spot, but
Well, you are putting me on the spot.
yes,
But
I can tell you some of my favorites. Like Robert Schimmel, I thought was always an amazing guest to have on the show. Just legendary comedian, and just I've known him from other like late night talk shows and stuff. So to see him come in studio, I thought he was always just a fun guy to have on.
Well, you talk about comedians. Richard Lewis was always good.
Yes.
But the funny thing about Richard Lewis is I always thought he was funnier in the studio, like one-on-one, just BSing in between when the mic was on, right?
Yeah.
Than he actually was doing his act. He was just not that he's not funny, because
Right.
I mean, he's a legendary comedian.
Yeah.
But he's just got a super hilarious personality
Yeah.
that when you're just talking to him, it makes you laugh. Another guy with the funny personality, even though he's not as big of a star as Richard Lewis, is Bobby Slayton.
Yes.
I mean, just talking to Bobby Slayton off the air.
Yeah.
I mean, you pee in your pants laughing. His stories are hilarious, and he's a great stand-up.
Yeah.
And he's been in movies and things like that, so his career speaks for itself. But just how naturally funny he is, and they're both kind of the same way that way. Not that, I mean, they're good friends of the show and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would be my favorite guests or not. We've had so many great guests, but when you talk about comedians, those two guys come to mind. I mean, the other guy that's funny just being himself is Norm Macdonald.
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
When the mic was on, he was hilarious, but he was just as hilarious not doing his material, just talking to him when the mic was off.
He's so dry.
Right.
His sense of humor is so dry.
That's my thing. It's like over the years, all the different comedians come in studio and be like, oh my God, I saw that person on Late Night with Jay Leno, Letterman, Conan, like all these different people or sitcoms, and see them come in studio and just get to know them on a little more personal level. That was always a big kick for me. Going back to, Joe Coy, just different comedians, as you say, Norm Macdonald, man, there's just so many. Christopher Titus, that was one of the first ones I really geeked out because I used to love his show on Fox. So when Titus could become a regular,
Right.
I was like, oh, he's so cool and awesome.
He is such a cool person.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think for me, like as far as comedians go, watching the rise of Joe Coy on your show.
Yeah.
Because you guys started interviewing him when he was barely playing, tiny rooms. And he'd
just
come
clubs.
in, like on a Wednesday or Thursday to pump a club. And it was like, he was so funny then. And I remember loving him from Chelsea's show.
Yeah.
And I loved him then. But man, he's just exploded since then.
Mike Tyson was another great guest.
Oh my
Oh my
God,
God, yes.
that was crazy.
Okay, if I had to name like the most craziest days at work ever, Mike Tyson was number one. Hulk Hogan was probably number two as far as just crazy, hectic mornings. But Mike Tyson was so hectic just because when I got the confirmation he was going to come in studio, I was like, great, awesome. But that day, the number of people, salespeople, promo people, all from different departments, bomb rushed the studio.
Oh, it was nuts. I can't believe that the studio didn't tilt on its axis because everybody who worked at the station was in there.
At the beginning,
or trying to get in there.
At the beginning of the interview, Paul was like, "Where's all these people been? I've never seen them before."
I know, right?
So the beginning of the interview was hilarious, just Paul reacting. But I was annoyed because so many people were like, "Wait, you guys just can't come running in." It was like a mob of people in there. It was like, guys, please respect the show. Be outside, go in a different room and listen.
Yeah,
But
that was crazy.
It was ridiculous. But yeah, that was hectic. And then Hulk Hogan kind of very similar. But yeah, those were just crazy day of in studio guests.
And then another band thing happened to do with the Scorpions again was the bachelor party we did for the morning show
Yeah, you know what? I was going to bring that
at
up.
Centerfolds over on Broadway in Montgomery.
So was that a promo that you guys put together for your bachelor party?
We were just going to do a morning bachelor party, and they were in town, and they were going to come on the air, and we said, hey, we're going to be at a club.
Yeah.
And it was, 94? Because that's when Lamont got married. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do an on-air bachelor party anyway.
Yeah.
And they came by at 6:30 in the morning and stayed with us the entire show.
That's so wild. Who gets to say they had the Scorpions at
Right?
the bachelor party?
And those guys, they had a great time. They still remember it, too, when we've talked to Klaus. And like, hey, you remember? Oh, yeah,
Matthias,
we were there.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. Then the things you would do for concert tickets. One year we did roadkill for concert tickets.
Eating roadkill?
No, bring roadkill into the studio.
Oh, God.
The best
I'm glad this
roadkill
was
got
before my
tickets.
time.
And the two things that were epic about that day, other than somebody bringing in, that somebody would bring in a squirrel or two, or somebody would bring in a cat, or I don't think anybody brought in a dog, or usually you couldn't really tell what it was because it's been run over so many times. But toward the end of the show, two things happened. One guy came in because he thought he could win tickets for having the most roadkill. So he collected, must have been 15 pieces of roadkill.
Oh, God.
But the thing is, you ever see those short boxes that are about an inch tall that they pack cans of soda in when they're carrying them? Flats?
Yeah.
The flats, right? The cardboard boxes. Mm-hmm. So all that roadkill fit in one flat, soda carton box thing. And he came, it was toward the end of the show, and he came running in because he wanted to meet the deadline. And as he came in, the door to the studio is open. As he's running in, he trips. And the box goes flying.
Oh, my God.
And there's a roadkill just flew all over the studio. It was
that is
hilarious.
Gnarly.
And it reeked for days.
Who had to clean that up? Did you guys clean that up?
No, we told him to pick it up. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And the engineering department hated us.
Oh, I bet they did.
And then after that, some guy comes like dragging something up outside the studio. We could see outside the building. We were on a ground floor.
KSJO, right? Yeah.
And he had a deer. He didn't bring it into the building. We're like, no, do not bring that in the building. He ended up putting it back out in his truck. We're like, do not bring a dead deer into the studio.
I would have had to have left work. I couldn't have made it through that day. No way.
It was that was
gnarly.
epic.
Who thinks of that idea? Was that your
Who knows
idea?
how it comes up? It's just
Just organic.
yeah.
It just seems like where KSJO was seems like just a really fun time.
Well, we had a lot of outdoor area that we could do different things, you know.
Well, in the time, the 90s as well. Just, I remember one time, Lamont and I forgot, we were flying out of San Jose airport and we were killing time, and we had lunch, and Lamont took me over to Coal Circle. I've never been there. I didn't work there. So he took me over there and he showed me like, oh, this is the front entrance here. Our studio is here.
Mm-hmm.
And then he showed me the freeway. He's like, this is the wall Sully ran into. I had no idea. So I felt
that was right behind the station in the parking lot. And then on the other side of the station, another highlight you'll hear this week during anniversary week was where we're going to have Sully artificially inseminate a bull.
Oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorite
I think
clips.
that's coming up this week, too.
Oh, my God.
So that was another epic event.
But to me, it was like, that's like a historical landmark where Sully had this amazing moment. It was right there in front of that
That has
wall.
to be the thing that people request the most, I think, is that sound.
Exactly.
Soundbite. When was that? Like, was that early, mid-90s? Mid-90s, probably?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, how long had he been on the show with you when you had him run into a wall?
Yeah, it wasn't too long. It was maybe a year,
Wow.
probably less than 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
After the Olympics and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
There was a storage closet. We had a bunch of listeners getting high all morning for the entire morning show. And that was, I'm trying to think what we gave away tickets for that time. But that was another ticket thing.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
a little hot box kind of a thing.
Didn't you have a guy when you were doing ticket giveaways, he like attached his...
Oh, yeah.
Sack to
He
it.
nailed his scrotum to a billboard.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Please tell me he was the winner.
Well, we had a number of tickets to give away. My phone keeps going off, and I never have my ringer up.
I'm really hoping nobody beat that because that's
Well,
like real.
actually, he did win, but we had several winners that day.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a gal that had her cooch pierced in the studio.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was the same day as the guy that nailed his scrotum to a billboard.
God.
I think it was.
That's an epic broadcast day
We
right
did
there.
not tell them to do that. We're like, what would you do?
Yeah.
And then they sent in their ideas, and then we picked from the ideas the people who would come in and do different things, right?
And they
Another
did.
guy ate like 16 goldfish.
Oh my God. I
Live
could
goldfish?
not. No.
Like they'd be wiggling.
Oh.
They'd be wiggling. He'd hold them by the tail and be wiggling, and he'd swallow them. He ended up puking, but
I bet.
yeah.
Oh,
So that was a good. That was the same show.
good Lord.
Yeah, we had him doing that, and
I'm just, there's just so much to recap. And I mean, there's so many great memories.
If you had documented it all this time, it would have been better than The Office. It would have been a show like that. And I still think that one should exist like that about this radio station.
I would love, a show like WKRP Cincinnati, but done in the style of The
Updated.
Office.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's world, and just what radio goes through to keep up with all the other social media and other media platforms out there. I think it'd be hilarious.
And how much has changed? There's so much behind the scenes information that I think people would really be entertained by that have changed.
Yeah.
And it changes your show. It's changed a lot in the industry in general.
Paul, I just want to ask you, what did Sully mean to the show? I think that's something,
I think what you heard is what he meant.
Yeah.
Just because it was so real, right? So it's pretty obvious just by listening and people's impression. That's what he meant to the show. It's hard to put into words, just and really describe it. If you tried to describe it to somebody, they're like, huh?
Yeah.
But if you're familiar with the show, what you heard and what you saw at promotions stuff is pretty much what you got.
Yeah.
I think I was a listener for a while before I became a part of the station. And I remember he just was always his laugh was so genuine. He always sounded like he was having a good time, or he was shocked, or he didn't give a shit, and it just was always very, very entertaining to me to just be a listener.
Just hanging out with Sully, that's some of my favorite memories. It's just spending time with him and going to concerts or Bone events, bar nights, and just how much people loved him.
He was a very beloved character.
Yeah.
Even just today, you guys played a clip back in his laugh, and I thought how cool. People were texting in immediately, oh my God, Sully's laugh. And I thought how cool now that he's gone that we have that on tape, and we have so much of it and so many of these things on tape.
Yeah.
It's really special.
Yeah. Man, I'm just trying to think what else. I mean, for me, I definitely, for you, Paul, and Lamont as well, I just want to, thank you guys just for everything you've done for me as a mentor and, bringing me on with the
That's
show.
not going to get you too far.
But, I'm being sincere here as far as I do appreciate and value everything you've done for me.
You want me to be a mentor? I couldn't even get a job with UPS.
I know. But, taking me under your wing as an 21-year-old intern and letting me grow with the show and become full-time and experience everything I got to experience up until this point. I don't take it for granted. I've always loved it, and it's just been really such a dream come true. So I do want to thank you guys for everything you've done for me and my career, my family and friends. So no, thank you. You guys deserve 34 years.
All right, that's enough.
I agree with you. I'm going to double down on that.
That's a long thank you. But we never got to you and you getting started on the show. People don't know that whole story.
So
and then you can. I interrupted you.
Oh no! I was gonna say very similar sentiments there. So I moved here from LA in 2008, and I worked for a traffic company, and so I did fill in a gig for Mona, the girl that did your traffic at the time, and I did that for a couple years, part-time, on a very part-time basis, basically when she would go on vacation or whatever. And then that company split up, and she was in management. So she had to make the tough choice to go in a different direction and leave her post with you guys. And when she did that, she basically said, I'd love to be able to hand this over. If Lamont and Tonelli want that, that would be great. And so I freaked out. It's so funny to me, though. A lot of people have no idea my history. They think that my first radio gig was with you guys. They don't know that I started in Oklahoma, and I've been in for
just like anything, right?
21 years, yeah.
Behind the scenes.
But what I will say is once I got that gig, you guys basically, I guess, gave me the stamp of approval. You would be able to tell that side of the story better than I would, but I got the gig.
You said yeah.
Exactly. Sure. Why not? And then I got the gig, and I was just the traffic reporter. I did nothing else. I was very quiet intentionally because I was scared to death because much like you were saying, Huey, when I said I was going to start working with Lamont Tonelli, people were like, oh, shit.
It's intimidating.
It's very intimidating.
The reputation you guys have.
And to be on the air.
No reason for it to be intimidating.
And there's not now.
Yeah.
Now we know, but you guys had such a reputation and a legacy in the industry. And being on the air, I was nervous. And so I didn't really say much for a long time. It would be like little tiny things, and I would laugh at, things. But if I would find a space and it made sense, then I would say something. And that was the way it was for several years. And then it just sort of organically grew into
the best way for things to happen.
Right. Because it's really important when you're coming into a show that is that stable and established. Stable is maybe not the best word. Established is a better word. Is a better word. It's to not just come in and horn your way in, right? Like I'm just going to shoehorn my way into. That's never going to work. So I didn't want to do that. So it just organically grew over time. And then when Weedman left, I got middays, and I've just been doing all that ever since. But what I will say is I did have an 11-year history in radio before that. But when you become a part of such a huge show like Lamont and Tonelli, it's a total career changer. Completely. I mean, it changed the course of my life. And I know I know it gets kumbaya for you to hear that, but it's the truth. And I'm super grateful.
We're giving you your flowers, Paul. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm not a kumbaya person.
It's okay.
I know you're not, but just deal with it for a second because it changed Huey's life. It changed my life. And I'm super grateful for it too.
Absolutely.
Every day is a surprise. When you come in,
God, it's a surprise to me.
you never know what's going to happen around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, seriously, thank you. It's awesome. awesome.
Thank you.
Love, sir.
Whatever.
He's giving us a thumbs up. Paul, it's radio and podcasting.
I know,
That's what he
right?
always tells me.
After all this time, you can throw it right back at him.
When I try to do stuff off the air, it's radio, Huey.
It's radio. So you know what we should do? We should have people call in with their memories.
Yeah.
Now that we have the Bone Bat phone, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm curious, like favorite guest,
favorite moment,
stunt.
When you've met Lamont and Tonelli, what did you think of them?
Yeah.
Assholes.
415-995-7077. It's also listed at 1077thebone.com.
Yeah, it might spur my memory a little bit too, so that's a good thing.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of like all the other comedians and actors, actresses. I mean, there's been so many people that come through here, and that's to me, it's always been the cool thing.
So it's first of all, it's hard to remember all of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's hard to narrow the ones you do remember that are epic.
Yeah.
It's hard to narrow down.
Yeah.
I mean, we just heard the Seeger thing this morning.
No, that was such a moment.
Metallica in the studio, James
Well, all the
Hetfield,
stuff
Lars.
with Metallica, right?
Oh, going to headquarters and hanging out with Lars. That was
The
wild.
private show at the Cow Palace we did.
Yeah, when they were doing In the Round.
Yeah, like the warm-up show. That was amazing. Just all the bands, Slash calling in, AC/DC, just all the big rock stars, Ozzy.
You know what? If we get voicemails and Lamont next week, maybe we could do a part 2 of things we remembered over the week. We'll give everybody time to think about it and their memories to work.
Yeah, things Tonelli didn't remember on the next podcast.
But like Bill Burr, I mean, God, I'm like, it's starting to come back to me more and more of the different guests, comedians.
All right,
stuff.
we'll hold it for part 2.
Okay.
Start making notes. The only reason I say that's because I got to go chat with Moskowitz in 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Bonus Bone podcast.
Thanks for listening
we love
for 34 years.
That's right.
Yes.
Amen to that. Thank you to Lamont and Tonelli for changing lives around here. He's cringing. Do you see
I
it?
am.
He can't
Totally
even, He
cringing.
can't even help it. All right, give us a call, 415-995-7077 with your memories. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube and do all the things. And we love you. And that's it. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
See you.